We interrupt your scheduled programming for breaking news. I'm Monica Coleman. We have been covering the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade all morning. Governor Gavin Newsom is holding a press conference right now about what the ruling will mean for California. We're taking you to it live. Here's the governor.
Has rolled back women's rights nearly half a century. In just 1 week, the court has proven that it believes guns should have more rights than women. This is insane. This is toxic masculinities at work in the highest court in the country. Domination and control of women and women's bodily autonomy is so deeply ingrained in the patriarchy that unfortunately still rules our country. And this is a ruling that will have grave consequences for women's health, women's safety, women's economic security, and our ability to thrive in the United States of America. It could and should be so simple. Women deserve the respect and authority to make decisions about our own reproductive health, our lives, and our futures. And that's why I'm so proud to call California home, and why I'm so proud to raise my children here. And I'm beyond grateful to live in a state where our governor, this entire administration, and our legislature are deeply committed to protecting and expanding not just reproductive rights, but women's rights, broadly speaking. Because in California, we trust women. In California, we believe women. In California, we value women and we support their right to choose. And we will continue to lead with those values by protecting abortion access and serving as a haven for anyone in this country needing an abortion. If California has to continue to lead and be defiant in the face of sexism and misogyny and racism, then so be it. Then that's our calling. But my heart, it goes out to all of the women in this country. And I hope you know that California has your back. So now, I have the opportunity, to introduce one of California's greatest leaders, a champion and dedicated leader in the Senate, Senator Tony Atkins. Thank you, Pro Tem Atkins, for meeting the moment and leading the effort to give voters the opportunity this November, to enshrine the right to an abortion in our state's constitution. Again, I'm so grateful to you. I'm grateful to my husband. I'm grateful to everyone around me, this entire administration, the Women's Caucus, all of you incredible leaders in California, for being so brave and courageous and leading on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for so much. I would like to say I'm proud to be here, and I am proud to be here with these incredible leaders. Members of the Women's Caucus, my legislative partner in the Assembly, Speaker Rendon, our governor, the first partner, our Attorney General. I am proud to stand with these individuals, but we should not have to be here this morning, or this afternoon. We should not have to be here this afternoon. And even though that we knew this was a possibility, nothing can truly prepare you for the feeling you get when you read the headline that the highest court in our nation just eradicated nearly 50 years of precedent related to abortion access and privacy. It made my stomach drop. I frankly have been sick at my stomach all morning. But it also made me furious for millions of women and people nationwide, as our first partner said, who now will be living in a reality that does not include the right to control a critical medical decision about their own body. a decision that should only be between a patient and their healthcare provider. Let me be crystal clear. That right is protected here in California, and my colleagues and I are ensuring that the fundamental right to abortion and contraception will be protected by our state constitution. That is the goal of SCA 10, and in November, California voters will be able to have the final say at the ballot box. I'm proud that we've already taken bold action, as well have a package of legislation aimed at protecting and expanding abortion access in our state for all Californians and for those who may need to come here for reproductive health care. And I want to say thanks to Assemblymember Bauer Cahan and a critical bill that we're going to hear about in a little while, AB 1666, which is now before our governor today. We moved quickly on this bill because we knew it was only a matter of time before the decision dropped. Thank you to my legislative colleagues and absolutely to Speaker Rendon for your swift work. AB 1666 makes sure that people who come from states where they are at risk of civil action and financial retaliation if they seek an abortion will be protected here. Those inhumane laws will not cross California borders. We will not leave women and families impacted by the fall of Roe v. Wade and the backwards, reckless policies of other states without options. We will not do that. We are here to further rights, not take them away. And to those folks, I would say this. As Jennifer Siebold Newsom said, you are welcome here. You have choices here, and you have allies here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my legislative partner and the co-author of SCA 10, Speaker Anthony Rendon.
Thank you, Pro Tem Atkins. Thank you for your leadership on this issue, obviously for your leadership on AB 1666, as well as your leadership on SCA 10. Proud to be here to join our governor, our legislative leaders, in particular, Assembly members Wilson and Bonta, who are with us this afternoon. All of us today are aghast. We are aghast, but we are not speechless. There is a compulsion to rage against the darkness of this malicious court decision that harms every woman. The Supreme Court is supposed to deliberate. Instead, they have decimated. They have decimated women's rights to bodily integrity. They have invaded the personal domain of every woman in this nation, even those who find protection here in California. Our rights are in free fall. Our rights are in free fall, especially with the Supreme Court majority poking holes in those rights. This is the illegitimate product of a frightening alliance of power-hungry authoritarians, religious fundamentalist beliefs, and corporate greed. We cannot, and in California, we will not stand by as the constitutional rights of women are stripped away. That is why we are here today, to see the protections of AB 1666 signed into law. That is not all, though. Next week, the Assembly will take up the critically important Senate Constitutional Amendment 10, for which I am a proud joint author, together with my partner, Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins. SCA 10 will give Californians the opportunity to enshrine a woman's fundamental right to reproductive freedom into our state constitution. We will not go gently into the night that they are creating. We are fighting back in California. Now here is California's top elected legal fighter, Attorney General Rob Bonta.
Good afternoon, Rob Bonta, Attorney General. And there's no other way to describe today. It is a dark day. It is a sad day. It is a tragic day. The Dobbs decision issued this morning can only be described as outrageous, as devastating, as dangerous. It's unprecedented. And make no mistake about its impact. Health has been put at risk throughout this country. lives have been put at risk throughout this country. The lives of some of our most vulnerable, disadvantaged communities, poor communities, communities of color. And this decision is an attack on privacy, on freedom, on self-determination, on equality. This decision is an attack on women. It's an attack on women's equality. It's an attack on pregnant people. And with this decision that in one fell swoop makes disappear 50 years of settled law and constitutional precedent, it sends us back over 150 years. This decision is unique. It is historical. It is unprecedented in a horribly tragic way. It is the first time the U.S. Supreme Court has stricken down, has abolished, has demolished, has stripped away an existing constitutional right that's been in place for over 50 years. And we need to look no further than the words of the court for what this myopic decision means. In their very powerful dissent, jointly authored, Justice Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan laid out the dystopian ramifications. In their words, this revocation of our fundamental rights is the curtailment of women's rights and of women's status as free and equal citizens. As of today, the Supreme Court holds a state can always force a woman to give birth, prohibiting even the earliest abortions. People are hurting now. This decision triggered laws throughout this country, 17 of them. Others about to act in the wake of this decision to criminalize abortion, strip away protections. Millions of Americans are suffering now and are going to continue to suffer. And we must not shy away from who these women are: women of color, single moms, victims of rape, victims of incest, young women just starting out their careers and journeys in life, women who lack the economic means to care for a child, those who lack the means to travel to a state like ours, like California, where their freedom remains protected, and any woman who wants to exercise her right and liberty to choose what is best for her. And yes, California is a safe haven for them and all who seek abortion care. And we always will be. But our nation, it is not. For women and those with marginalized identities seeking reproductive care, it is a haven no longer. This decision fails to protect us, but I and California will not. As our state's chief law enforcement officer, I will use the full force of the law. I will use the full authority of my office to protect reproductive health care. Always. Period. Full stop. End of story. Abortion remains fully legal in California. Let me repeat that. Abortion remains fully legal in California. Today's decision does not impact our state's laws and your right to choose within our borders and in other states that protect reproductive freedom. You have a right to an abortion here. You have the right to an abortion before viability without a reason. You have the right to an abortion after viability to protect your life or your health. You have the right to obtain an abortion without parental consent. I will not back down from defending these rights, expanding them, and keeping our clinics accessible and safe. Because in California, we refuse to turn back the clock and let radical ideologies exert control over your body. Instead, we will heed the words of the Supreme Court. Today's decision is confirmation that we must further codify the right to a safe and legal abortion. And it is time to explicitly recognize a right to abortion in our state's Constitution. This is a dark day for our little girls and all our children who will now come of age in a nation with fewer rights, fewer freedoms, and fewer protections than the generations before them. That is not progress. But on days like this, I'm more determined than ever to fight like hell for my daughters and yours, for all pregnant persons, all those who deserve a future with more rights, more freedom, not fewer. And this is an example up here of California being California, doing what we do, being who we are, standing together, our leaders in the legislature, our legislative leaders, our governor, standing as one, speaking with one voice, being that source of light, being that beacon of hope to the rest of the world and to all those in our state. And for those who are in pain, who are hurting, I want you to know that California has your back. We will fight for you. We will continue to show up for you. We will not go backward. We will not roll back the clock. We will move forward. We will march forward. We will continue to make progress. We will fight for your self-determination, for your freedom, for your privacy, for your rights. Today's a sad day, and it's a dark day, but today is not the last day in this fight. The fight will continue. We'll continue to march forward. Our fight for reproductive freedom marches on. Thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce Shannon Olivieri Hovis at NARAL.
Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Olivieri Hovis, and I'm the director of NARAL Pro-Choice California. NARAL is the oldest and largest abortion rights advocacy organization in the country, and we fight for reproductive freedom for all people. We are powered by our more than 2.5 million members nationally and more than 300,000 members here in the state. I think A.G. Bonta actually said all of it so eloquently, to no surprise. I woke up this morning and I hugged my 7-month-old as tight as I could, and I cried in the bathroom. And then I stood up a little bit straighter with a bit more resolve because, as he said, the fight for reproductive freedom continues. I do want to talk about the real-life consequences of this Supreme Court decision. So we expect 26 states, in short order, to ban abortion entirely or almost entirely. 13 states have trigger bans. That means that with this Supreme Court decision, abortion is outlawed automatically in those states. And we're talking about real people, right? We are talking about more than 33 million women and pregnant people of reproductive age who will lose that access to abortion in their own communities, in their home states. And some will travel if they can and if we can help them. And some will be forced to carry unwanted pregnancies through to term. And some may be at risk of criminalization for accessing self-managed abortion in their states. And some will die. I don't want to mince words about that. Some will die. And make no mistake that these same states that are banning abortion are the states where it is most dangerous in this country to give birth. And that should not be lost on us. California is doing the opposite. We are going in the opposite direction. We've put a welcome sign on the door. And we are letting folks know, no matter where they're from, no matter where they live, no matter what their circumstances, they are welcome in California to access the critical abortion care that they need. NARAL is a proud founding and steering committee member of the California Future of Abortion Council. This year, we are backing a 16-bill legislative package. That includes the state constitutional amendment to specifically enshrine the right to abortion and the right to contraception in our state constitution. We are not taking any chances. We are addressing our provider shortages. We are addressing our access deserts. We are ensuring that people have the practical, logistical, and financial support to get here. We are strengthening our provider network. We are doing all of the things that we need to do. And we are guaranteeing that they have privacy in their records and that they are not at risk of legal repercussions, providers or patients, in the state of California based on these hostile bans that we're going to see move forward. So it is a devastating day, but it's a hopeful day, because the reality is that the anti-choice movement has been at this for 50 years, and the fight for reproductive freedom is far from over. We are the supermajority. What do I mean by that? 8 in 10 Americans support the legal right to abortion. That does not mean every one of those 8 people would choose abortion for themselves, but they do not believe that anybody else should be making that decision. It should reside with the pregnant person, with their faith, their doctor, and with the support of their loved ones. And NARAL and our members all across this country, in every single congressional district, in every state, will be fighting like hell to ensure that we continue to ensure that states like California, and that we spread our impact, right? That we are a reproductive freedom state, but we're not going at that alone. That's not the California way. And that was part of what Governor Newsom announced earlier today. We continue to bring other states along. And the work that the California Future of Abortion Council has done has been a blueprint already for other states who have followed our lead this year and continue to do so in expanding access within their states. And that's the ripple effect that we will take hold. So thank you. And up next, I want to introduce Jody Hicks, our incredible partner, who is the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California. Thank you.
Thank you. I was listening to all the incredible folks speak and really trying to think of what I would even add today. Most of you I have seen and talked to since September, really since the Future of Abortion Council we put it together as a response to what happened in September, when really the Supreme Court's inaction at that time allowed Texas to go into effect despite it being unconstitutional. And I talked to many of you that I think thought maybe we were overreacting and didn't think this day was a reality. And I've been talking since throughout this about how we're preparing for this post-Roe reality, and I have a hard time knowing what to say when that day is here. We're in a post-Roe reality, and I don't know that we can properly wrap our minds around what that means today, but certainly what it means in the future. And I look at folks, and there's a deep understanding, especially for anyone with a uterus, of what that actually means. And I think Sotomayor said it really well, that at the moment of fertilization, it means that folks don't have equal rights. It means they don't have autonomy over their body anymore. It means they don't have agency over decisions that affect their futures and their very lives. And I think what I want to say is, as we continue to talk about this from this day and this reaction today, but really moving forward and what that looks like and how states like California prepare for what's to come, a real understanding that this is, we're going to talk about it, some folks are going to talk about it as how does this affect the election? What does this mean for certain things? This is a value that's about people's lives, and real people are going to be hurt starting today at this moment. At this moment, there's 13 states that are going into effect, if not already by the end of the day, where there are real people that really need care. And now there are young people that have never traveled outside of the state they're sitting in right now, and they have to navigate a public health system that's hostile to the needs that they have and try and find a way to get somewhere else. So while could not be more grateful for California, and I deeply understand the honor of sitting with folks behind me and all of the leaders here, that we are part of shaping what this post-Roe reality looks like, we need to keep in mind that this is a value that California has that some states don't, and that hurts real people. And all I can say is this morning, I think what you're seeing a reaction to is all of us doing the work that we've been doing, but also understanding on this very day a very humane response to what is an understanding of what it means for a generation behind us. 26 states. Where are our kids going to college? And what rights do they have when they go there? Where are doctors being trained? And will they be trained? And will people get the care they need, even in things like miscarriage management? What is the future for healthcare when we have a maternal mortality rate that's already unconscionable for a country like we have? And what does it mean for pregnant people across this country? So keep that in mind as we move forward and understand why we've been pushing, why a bill like this that protects providers that are tired and still doing the work every single day, that we're ensuring that they're secure, that we're ensuring patients have the resources they need. Because I tell you, my nightmare scenario is that when people come here, they can't get the care because we haven't expanded enough, or that we don't see the influx of patients that we think we should see because they didn't have the resources to get here. And that's cruel, and it's nothing short of devastating. And my daughter came down the stairs this morning and just gave me a hug and said, "I'm sorry." And all I can do is look back at her and say, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." And I think that's where we stand today. With that, I'm going to introduce, and I'll just say the text message I sent our governor this morning, which was a little bit, not that he needed it, but my own needing of getting out a pep talk, which is both by design and by circumstance, California is the leader right now. We've been leading since we put out a blueprint that other states are following. We'll continue to lead. We have that responsibility and we have that honor. And the governor of the state of California is the leader right now in what we do and how we protect, how we prepare, and how we serve patients in California, but certainly patients that have to come to California. So no matter where anyone calls home, we will lead that effort, and it's because of the leaders you've heard from, but certainly proud to welcome the governor, Gavin Newsom.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Well, let me thank all the remarkable leaders that spoke, and thank you for your expressions that I think truly recognize the enormity of this moment. And in many ways, this has been said by a number of you, it's difficult to pick up on where you left off. And I want to just, though, express that while I'm, don't take this the wrong way, I'm sorry as well. I'm a little less sorry than I am pissed. A little less sorry than I am resolved and angry to do more and to do better. At the same time, expression of appreciation. I'm grateful I'm here in California. I'm grateful I'm governor of California. I'm grateful I represent a state that's fighting for freedom, fighting for reproductive rights, a state that has long stood tall. And I'm sorry that more people do not have those protections today. I am, though, very mindful that California can play an outsized role at this moment. I'm mindful of the fact that we punch above our weight. I'm mindful that this state is the largest and most diverse state in the world's most diverse democracy. I'm mindful of our history, our proud past, where we have led. We've said often, we don't imitate. We're a model in many respects to others. Future, in many ways, certainly as it relates to the rights movement, happens here first in the state of California. What we're doubling down on and have been over the course of the last few years, not just the last few weeks, not just the last few months in anticipation of this decision, is a recognition we did need to do more. We need to step up. We didn't want to rest on our laurels. We didn't want to rest on our progress. We have been leaning in, and I couldn't be more proud about the legislative package that not only has been introduced and is being advanced this year, but the legislative packages that we've advanced that have been successful over the course of the last many, many years in this state. There's simply no other state in the United States of America doing more to protect those that are the most vulnerable, not only to this decision, but the vagaries of life. And I'm proud of that. And I want folks to know all around the rest of the country and many parts of the globe that I hope we're your antidote to your fear, to your anxiety, perhaps to the cynicism that many of you are feeling about the fate and future of not only our state, but the world and country, the world we're living in. This is a profound and consequential moment, but it stacks on so many profound and consequential moments. Just 24 hours ago, many of us were together and others lamenting about a jaw-dropping decision where states' rights wasn't afforded on the issue of the Second Amendment, where we quite literally were debating about the meritorious nature of rules and regulations around crossbows and dirks and landscapes, where we were reflecting on historical records, not necessarily legal precedent, where we were reflecting on this notion of fundamental rights can be stripped. And now today we're talking about states' rights. The hypocrisy so extraordinary, so profound, that it was deeply pronounced in the dissent that came out here today. They didn't take any quarter. They pushed back aggressively in the dissent, making the case that was made a moment ago. It's not an assertion. In fact, it was said, as the AG said, with certainty. This is certain, the dissent said, comma, that women are not equal. That's a remarkable statement from members of the United States Supreme Court. Women are not equal. Women are not free. Women are treated differently than men, period, full stop. That's fact. That's not fiction. That's not hyperbole. That's not a political statement. That's a fact. And for whatever reason, we're here with a Supreme Court that believes women should not be treated equally. They should not be free. And we have men, dominantly men in all these positions of power and influence, that believe in government mandates, believe in government births. They don't believe in life, because if they believed in life, they would be doing all the things to support those after they're born. We know that. That's legendary. Their absolute indifference to life. They are pro-conception to birth, period, full stop. That's all this is about. If you think it's not, just consider in the dissent itself, they talked about a number of states, Mississippi being one of them, that has no interest in supporting expansion of Medicaid to extend the opportunities to protect those that are born for at least 1 year with critical medical support in that first year of life. They're not interested in life. That's why they cut programs on child care and prenatal programs and cut preschool programs. They're not interested in family planning. They cut family planning programs and sex education. Don't even get me started with sex education. Can't say that word in many states. Spare me this notion of freedom, and spare me, or rather rights, and yes, freedom. Freedom? Really? That 13-year-old that's raped, or God forbid, remember, family, incest, and has to bear her sibling, has the freedom of what? So this is a remarkable moment, but we're here in California, and we're here to stand tall and to meet this moment head on and to lead and lean in. And I'm very proud that today I'll be signing one of what I look forward, as was stated by Shannon, over a dozen pieces of legislation that should make my desk in a matter of weeks that will codify our values and will advance our values. Yes, this November we'll be advancing a constitutional amendment codifying what we've done in statute and giving people something to be for proactively on the ballot as relates to constitutional right to privacy, the constitutional right that was firmly established up till hours ago in this country, but we'll assert that formally and foundationally here in the state of California. But we also are leaning in terms of providing additional supports tens of millions of dollars in grants to providers across this state, over 108 health clinics in this state, to provide resources and a more resourceful mindset to help people that may be seeking reproductive care to come into the state of California, to support those efforts, to expand the opportunity regardless of your income and your ability to pay, to make sure there are no co-pays, to make sure everybody is covering your care, not only the health plans, but that care is covered regardless of your immigration status. If you're from another state and you come into the state of California, we're not going to be asking for your ID. We're not going to be asking you a litany of questions that are asked in almost every other state. You have a right to confidentiality, not just privacy here in the state of California, but we're also mindful there's 33.6 million Americans that are likely to lose, that are of reproductive age, that are likely to lose that access if all 26 of these states move in the direction that many of us fear, that we can't absorb all of that, but we will do our fair share and more. And speaking of more, I'm really proud that we're joining in with others, not just the state of California, but other governors, Western governors have stood up as well. And I'm grateful to Governor Brown, Governor Inslee, that are asserting that the United States of America at least has the Western United States that will stand tall in terms of our reproductive values and reproductive freedoms. And we are a sanctuary. And we laid out the principles of what that means. One of them I'll be codifying with legislation that I'll be signing here today. We're also here to protect those that will be under assault. We don't think this, we know this. This is not assertion. Again, this is not hyperbole. This is fact. Look at SB 8. SB 8 in Texas, one of the largest states in America. The folks in Texas right now can be civilly fined through a private right of action for aiding and abetting someone that may come to the state of California, as an example, to seek their reproductive rights and reproductive freedoms. We will in no way, shape, or form support, enable, investigate, resource any of those activities or energies. That's part of the piece of legislation I'll sign today, but it's also part of our legislative package that will be moving forward, providing true sanctuary and providing legal protections for those governors and those legislative leaders in these red states that literally will deny women the ability to get support or even access to the resources to travel to states like California. You can't make that up, but those are facts. Read SB 8. What is SB 8? I saw some companies want to help with travel expenses to send folks to places like California, but under SB 8, they're subject to civil fines. You see what Marco Rubio's doing in Florida? He's got a law to strip all your tax breaks if you're a company and you're providing reproductive care to your employees. That's the country you're living in right now, we are living in. But it's not a reality here in California. The rights revolution, what we've come to accept and expect over the last 60 years, 50, 60 years, is being rolled back in real time. Wake up. Across the spectrum. They haven't been shy, they haven't been timid, and they're just winding up. I mean, Justice Thomas, his own words, saying, let's go. It's Griswold next. It's not just Hodges and same-sex marriage, it's Lawrence. The irony of that shouldn't be lost on anyone in terms of his own status. With a relationship and the love of his life. Lawrence v. Texas, be reminded, in 1967, a guy named Richard Loving married Mildred Reeder. And for that, he was sentenced to 1 year in prison or was kicked out of the state of Virginia. And God said in that race famously, or rather in sentencing him, God put different races. The judge said this to Mr. Loving. God put different races on different continents for a reason. God never wanted the races to mix. That was my lifetime. That was interracial marriage, which, according to Justice Thomas, should be considered. Not surprising, because you have a U.S. Senator from Indiana who said the same thing. They're coming after you next. Period. Full stop. This is not just about women. This is not just about choice. This is not just about reproductive freedom. They're coming after you next. It's a serious moment in American history. this great divergence now, red states versus blue states. But in the spirit that I think defines the sentiment of many of us, and certainly the sentiment of those that spoke, we are many parts but one body. And when one part suffers, we all suffer. And so our empathy needs to be matched with our care and compassion and action to help support those Americans that are under real threat and autocracy, and I would argue tyranny, from those that wish to incarcerate them, to put them in jail, to put those family members that seek to help a young girl who was raped get their reproductive rights advanced outside that state, to civilly fine them or criminalize that action in the first place. Doctors themselves. That's what we're up against. Across the spectrum, banning books, banning what you can say in schools, even in corporate boards, taking tax breaks if they don't like what your position is in terms of your health care policies in a private company, what they're going to do to the environment next week from the Supreme Court's perspective. States' rights, no, but just only for this, but not guns. Profound moment. This is what Mitch McConnell wanted. This is what Donald Trump pursued. And this is the world we're currently living in. But here's, and I'll close on this, and forgive me for being circuitous in my remarks, but I think this moment just punctuates what's really going on in this country and how they're just winding up, and the significance of this moment as a wake-up call. But here's where my optimism lies. Future is not something to experience, it's something to manifest. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. So we have the capacity to turn this around. We have the ability to not allow a minority leader in the House of Representatives to become a majority leader who said today that he would, if he were the Speaker of the House of Representatives, move to codify nationally parts of this decision, 15 weeks, making it illegal all across the United States. We have the ability to stop that by taking action, by waking up and disabusing ourselves that we can stand on the sidelines at this moment and not participate. This is not about agitation. This is about participation. This is about taking steps to move in a new direction by getting rid of those in power that want to dominate and coerce and mandate women and girls' fates and futures. We have that capacity. We have that ability. And I hope, if nothing else, this decision wakes everybody up and enlivens their senses and distills the essence of what this moment means, a moment that none of us thought we would experience. And when Jody did send me that text, we both said we knew it was coming, but, comma, we both filled in the blanks about, just hit us in the gut, in the core, that momentary pause we all had, that this is not really happening, is it? Knowing full well that it was going to happen. And here we are, as Californians, prepared not only for this moment, but for the moments that come after. And it's in that spirit that I want to take this moment and sign legislation to push back against those Republican state legislators and governors that seek to move forward with civil actions against people that wish to travel to the state of California seeking their reproductive rights and reproductive freedoms. We will not aid, we will not abet in their efforts to be punitive, to fine, and create fear for those that seek that support. We are proud to provide it, and we do, and we are proud to have the opportunity here the day this decision comes out to be able to codify that with the action that I'm taking here today. And I just want to thank the remarkable legislative leadership and Assemblywoman Bauer Cahan for her extraordinary leadership in lending her voice and moving this bill so quickly. To the pro tem and the speaker, this would not have happened without you. And I cannot tell you how proud I am to be with you in all of these efforts. There is no other legislature in America like this legislature. Their values, their principles, their character, their decency, not only expressed through this law, but a legislative package that I look forward to signing in a matter of weeks. So thank you all for coming out, and of course, all of us are here to answer any questions.
Governor, now that other states are already moving to ban abortion and restrict abortion, will California use public money to help women from those states actually to get here?
Well, we put up tens of millions of dollars providing grants to support health clinics and providers. That provides the fungibility as it relates to their budgets to seek to provide that support. When people do come to the state of California, that support is provided regardless of any.
After 50 years, the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. You just watched a press conference from top California officials reacting to that ruling. You first heard from First Partner Jennifer Newsom and now Governor Gavin Newsom as they speak about the response California will take to protect women's right to choose. They made it very clear that abortion will continue to be legal here in California while also trying to help other women across the country come here to get legal and safe abortions. We thank you for staying with us during this developing breaking news event. We'll have more coverage right here on ABC 10 tonight at 4:30, 8, and 11.